I think every time we put something out, whether it's a song, a record, or anything, it's like a baby. It's a strange thing. Once you do it, you put everything into it. You're happy with it. You're happy the way it is yourself. You're content in how you feel about everything. Then you just have to watch it go.
It's really exciting for us. This is the best moment. It was the first time as well, although we were a bit more nervous the first time. I think we feel like we've made a really confident sounding album that reflects what it was like to play live for like 2-3 years we were on the road. It's amazing for us that we've got to make a second album, because we always have that underdog mentality, and we were amazed that we got to make a first one, and it was a dream even 2 years ago that we get to make a second one. So I think we'd love to get to continue living the dream, really, because we get to do amazing things in our lives that other people wouldn't get to do. Most British bands wouldn't get to do any of the things that we do, and it's just a pleasure for us to be able to make music and to take it around the world, and we just want to carry on like that, really.
I think we made a record with playing live in mind. I think it was last time, obviously, we hadn't played a show. We didn't know how things would translate, which was great for the sort of coldness and the starkness of the first record in a lot of ways. But this time we'd had all these musicians on stage, so we knew how to write parts for them, and we could see what they would play, and we could see how it would work, and we became more comfortable with live instruments, because at first we were very much wanted to be an solely electronic band and try and use electronic sounds to create emotion, whereas we became comfortable with how guitars work and drums and how they can mix together. So it's good, and also writing melodies with huge audiences in mind, and writing lyrics and things, and putting moments in songs that you can visualize was really fun, and it meant that we could try more things and get excited when we were writing the songs about the prospect.
I think this album is made to play live. Every song on it we just imagined what it'd be like to play live, which was a complete opposite to the first album, where we never gave it a thought. And we had to headline festivals, and I remember we headlined a festival in Bulgaria, and we played every song that we owned, all the B-sides, we played demos, we played everything, because we just had to fill the set. So obviously this album, we really considered that a lot more. And it's a much heavier album. It's more, you can feel, when you listen to the album, you can feel almost what it would be like live, which is really exciting for us to actually have that this time, instead of having to make very somber songs and sad songs have this impact. The album had to have more guitars on it, and it's an instrument that I started with when I was younger, and it's my natural instrument, and when I play it I feel like I know what I'm doing. With the piano, we just happened to write the first album on piano. That's how it worked out. So I had to learn really what I was doing, whereas guitar, as soon as I put it on, I feel like, okay, I know my way around this. So it was only natural, really, that this album featured more of it. And it's the best moments live for the two of us. We connect more when there's I've got a guitar on. I think both of our individual abilities have improved when it comes to songwriting. Our songs are always a product of our two personalities, and the songs wouldn't be the same without those two sides. And I think Theo and I have just tried to improve on our own individual abilities, really. And I feel the musicianship on this album is much higher. The arrangements are more sort of intricate, and certainly I feel the production is denser and more detailed, and that was the type of album that I wanted to make. So from my point of view, I feel it's definitely a step on from the first one. Because the first one we worked more heavily with the producer, and this one we took a lot of the responsibility ourselves.
So I think we did well. I think lyrically, vocally, I think my vocals improved, my ideas improved, and Adam's programming got immensely better, and his vision for sounds and stuff, and musicianship got better. We wrote more songs on piano, and we wrote more songs individually, like complete songs and stuff, which we'd never done before, because I think we got confidence to do that from, we were self-assured in the beginning because we had to be. There was no plan B when we had to believe that we could do it. But a lot of that's tainted with, in the back of your mind, the fact that maybe people won't like your music or whatever. So this time around, when we knew that people understood what we were trying to do and got where we were trying to take it and what we were trying to express, it meant writing songs was more fun because we had a bit more. We were like, we can do this. This is good. This is what we're good at. This is not what we're good at. This is where we could go. So that was the exciting part, is having a bit more confidence and stuff.
I think with Happiness, we just come off sort of 3 years of being unemployed, and I really hear that when I listen to that album, and for that reason, I think we should always be proud of the fact that we captured a moment in time. It was a snapshot of what our lives were like at that moment and what we've been feeling for the years prior to that, which was mostly sort of misery and unhappiness and, in my case, poverty. And so I think you can hear that sort of sorrow and sadness in the first album. And albums should be like that. It should be, you should be able to hear the songs back and be reminded of what your life was like at that moment. So Happiness, I feel, when we listen to it now, I think it's great that we captured that moment. But with Exile, we had to capture a different emotion because it wouldn't have been authentic, really, because we just don't feel that way anymore. There's more extremes on this album. The first one is very soft sounding, I always think, and the emotion is, it's mostly about love and and sorrow. Whereas this one, we've been around the world for 3 years. We've led a real sort of a roller coaster of a life, and you have to sort of put that in your music. And we were determined towards the end of touring the last album that we were going to put that in this album, and I feel we have done.
I think, again, when we finished Happiness, we were 100% confident, and we never thought we could have done any better. And I still look back at it now and I listen to it, and there's nothing I would change. And even having played the songs live all these years and tried other things out with him, I still see it very much as a contained piece of work for which reminds me of lots of things, but at the same time the songs now carry much more weight to them. The songs which have been about personal things to me and Adam now are about so much more than that, and that's why they're so exciting, and that's why I listen to it in a fresh way. And it feels like, it always did feel like part one. We almost pressed pause after the first record, and we sort of could have written more, but just at the end we went, right, stop it there, and then we'll pick it up where we left off on the second record.
I think Theo and I deal with pressure quite well, really, surprisingly, because we work really hard and we sort of pressure each other. When we were making this album in Manchester, it was always whoever went to bed first had sort of lost. We always tried to outlast each other in the day, so who could go to bed later. Because then when we handed the record in a few months ago, it was like we couldn't have worked any harder. We worked every single day for the last year. So if you do that, it sort of alleviates pressure because you can't do any better.
I think we felt pressure, like we did feel pressure in ourselves and from each other to do good and make something special and not be lazy or complacent, because we could have done, really, I think, after all this time. But that drive and that hunger for it is what has kept us going the whole time. So with each other, and the thing where when we're in the studio trying to stay up later than each other and trying to work longer than each other is funny now to look back on, and getting up earlier than each other and not basically trying to sort of prove to each other that we're both working hard, so you don't feel like you're letting the side down, is a way that we tend to work, which is sort of can be quite stressful. But yeah, we did, and there was also pressure that people now were attached to our music and what we do, and we had to look at what people cared about and why people had given us this chance to go around the world and reward them with something that we felt kept things exciting and made and challenged people a lot of the time, because I always liked confrontation in music and to do stuff that's pushes people a little bit. Yeah, so I think there's a diversity on it, which is probably more extreme than the first album. I think we always like to make things that people can treasure and with enough sort of depth in it that people can listen to it for a long time, because they're the records we like, records that are instant and that are pop records and things, but that after a year maybe you hear something different, or because we put a lot into them. The songs start on piano, or they start with a melody, very simple, and then the layers and stuff we try to put into them. We try our best. I mean, it's sort of, that's our ideal scenario, but sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But yeah, we just want it to, yeah. And there's certain moments, I guess, that are slightly terrifying in parts. We wanted to make it dramatic in that respect, and others that are very blissful, and I think it's more intense and more extreme in its emotion than the first one in parts. Yeah.
We'll always carry sadness on our backs, and our music just inherently is sad, and that's just how it is. So that'll be the consistent thing. We don't seem to be able to write songs that that aren't like that. But I think we were listening to a lot of heavier music. We listened to some sort of industrial music like Nine Inch Nails. I was listening to albums like OK Computer by Radiohead that were quite multi-layered, and you really, every time you listen to it, you hear something new. So for me, it was things like that. But then at the same time, we listened to loads of pop music, and we love the charts, and that's just that's the nature of our band. We just like, if the song's good, we like it for whatever reason.
I think Help is the song that I always wanted to write, and a type of song that I always dreamed of being able to write. I think there's nothing particular about it. It's just, it feels like a very classy, it sounds like a proper song, if that makes sense. Like that just came to us, and the emotion, it's very genuine, and it's also because it's got the fans. It's got a choir made of fans at the end, which they're from all over Europe, and we got them in, and it's like I said, the first record, the fans are very much part of every song now, but it was a great thing for us. Obviously, for those people who were involved, it was a huge thing, but for us as well, it was really important to share that with people and to feel that emotion of other people that we feel every time we play on stage and stuff. So, yeah, I'm very proud of that. Very proud of that moment. Others for different reasons, and for specific vocals or ideas, but that one is a song that is majestic, I think.
I think probably the most important song on the album is Miracle, because when we set out making the album, we desperately wanted to have some songs that really showed what it was like when we play live. And Miracle, we decided to strip back the production and try and make it sound like a live band. So we made the soundscape very simple. It was drums, guitars, vocals, very traditional. And we wanted to see how we get on with an arrangement like that. So I think that's a really important one for us from that perspective, because it showcases what it's like when people come and see us.
I think there is a lot we've drawn from on this record. That a lot of it came during the process of the first record. A lot of the influences that came out on this record came towards the end of that period, but we just didn't have the ability to achieve them. And when we were on the road, we listened to over the last few years, we've sort of listened to a lot darker music. People like Massive Attack, like Nine Inch Nails, like obviously Depeche, Interpol, people like that. And we sort of got a grasp on what those bands do and how they do it, and learn how to push yourself in darker direction, I think, was what we tried to, that all came in to us. And also other stuff, other things, like listen to people like Scott Walker, but then like the Killers and how the Killers do it, and anything with a darkness in it. At first it seems very elusive how people do it, like, but we sort of learned a lot more and talked about it when we were on the road, about even a band like Las Vegas, for instance, a band that we one of our favourite bands, who there was something that they do which is, there's an emotional quality of it which we feel very sort of aligned with what they do, but there's also a grand nature. So there was lots of stuff, but when we started making it, and production-wise and mood-wise, we used to listen to lots of Nine Inch Nails and The Cure and stuff, and as we were making the record, we were listening to those records and things like Disintegration and Downward Spiral and all this sort of stuff, and because they're great pop records, and the songs like Into the Void and Closer and Head Like a Hole and all this sort of stuff, they're great pop records, but there's something in them that gives them a real quality and a real excitement that that gives them integrity. So that's what we sort of, where we were looking, I think.
Social media has been incredible for us. It seems our band's just come along at the right moment to take advantage of these things. I mean, YouTube, for example, we made this video for 20 quid, put it on YouTube, the next week we were in Berlin. So it's sort of, it's really helped us, and it helps to unite our sort of fan communities around the world. You know, it gives them a sort of, there's a connection between them all. And things like Facebook allow us to, you know, communicate with fans directly, which we try and do. So yeah, we couldn't exist without it. But we have incredible shows in places like Russia, where, you know, they really appreciate the fact that you go there. Yeah, we played sort of 10 cities in Russia, and most bands, I don't think any bands go to these places. So when you do that, they really sort of show you how much they appreciate you. So Russia's a good one, but then, you know, Germany, we have amazing success, and fans are always brilliant. We're lucky because we have sort of a level of devotion with our fans around the world, and no matter where we go, they you know, give us a great response. So when you play all these shows and you see in their eyes the audience, and you can see them singing the words, you do realise the responsibility involved, and we never thought about that because we always just made music for the two of us. Theo and I are constantly amazed at how much, the amount of requests we get from fans in territories that we've not been, places we've not been, like Mexico or, you know, Brazil. Places in Europe, I think Georgia is one we've not been to, and we get a lot of requests to play there. So it's definitely on our minds to make sure that on this album we've been to every country in the world rather than just 80% of them. I think America is something that definitely on this album we'd like to pursue, because the first album we just sort of ran out of time. So we spent so many months, years in Europe. And so I think America was at the back of our minds, the first album, but certainly this time I think we should definitely go there. Australia as well. We didn't get the chance to do South America, so they're the sort of uncharted territories for us, so it'd be great to, and I feel this album, when I listen to it, I hear America a little bit more somehow, so it'd be great to, you know, get the chance to go there.
I guess it's very strange. It sort of goes in waves of how we see ourselves, because on the one hand we feel very much like a band of the world, if that makes sense. Like we feel like we belong to every country that will have us, really. Like, and we feel at home in places like Finland and Germany and Russia, and we feel like the music has got a home. But on the other hand, we get to travel the world and talk about how great Britain is, and Manchester, and to talk about like the places you come from, like Richmond in North Yorkshire. Like, so that makes you feel very proud that you're in some way at least representing a portion of how people view Britain and British music, which is an amazing thing, because we never really would see ourselves, we never thought we'd see ourselves as ambassadors for anything.
We consider ourselves to be an international band, definitely. We came from Manchester, but very quickly we left and we went to Berlin within the first sort of month of writing Wonderful Life. And ever since then, that sort of set a precedent, and we really, in a way, that's why we call the album Exile, because we feel like we've been on the run for 3 years, and we've been to like 50 countries, and you see the way your songs, see people feel like they belong to them, whether you play in Taiwan or you play in Reykjavik or, you know, Berlin or whatever. And for that reason, you can't consider yourself a localized act anymore, and we feel like we're, you know, a band for the people everywhere, really.
Well, the first album cover was the two of the first photographs we ever had taken of us. Well, the first two photographs we had taken of us as a band.
The album artwork this time certainly reflects the mood of the album. We didn't want to make another black and white cover. The first album sort of feels quite black and white, and like I said earlier, it sort of reflected our lives well. But this album, there had to be a directness again, but we wanted it to reflect the extremes of the album and involve more colour, and I think it was an important development for us to make.
For us, it's always interesting that people, when we get asked about clothes and things, that people sort of separate the two and they go, how do they go together? For us, it's sort of something else. It's a means of expression and a means of, like for everybody, whether you're interested in fashion or not, you by default are interested in it, even if you have no interest in it. So for us, it's just part of who we are, and it's like we've known each other for 8 years, 7, 8 years now, and we've grown, our tastes have grown together, and the visual element of our music's like, at first it was like, oh, this is what the stuff we like. We like these sort of visuals, we dress like this, and then it's like the music had much more colour and life into it than perhaps we came across to other people. So we were like, how do we put them together? And the answer was just put them together and then see what comes out. So it's important to us, I think. Makes you feel good about yourself, makes you feel good about the world. I essentially just want to live in a film the whole time.
It's definitely been an evolution in certainly the way we dress. I remember the first album, Theo was wearing on the cover, he was wearing a suit that cost 20 quid. Not that you tell anyone that. But yeah, there had to be this time. I think we've slimmed down our colour palette from 3 colours to 2. So who knows, next album we'll just go 1.
We always like to be brave with things. I think that's the point that's the whole point. I have a bit of a problem with people who play things safe and don't want to push things and want to be exciting and do things that are going to at least get a reaction from people. It's like that's the whole reason you do stuff, is to makes you feel alive when something makes you react a certain way. But there's a darkness in it. But I think it could only get darker, which maybe it will down the line.